So Zion Williamson posted a recent photo about his weight, and he's looking really good so far. And I'm excited for Zion Williamson because I'm rooting for him. I want him to succeed in the NBA. I know he's had some bad injury luck early in his career, but at the same time, this guy, in my opinion, still has top 10 potential if he can stay healthy. That's obviously a big question mark. But at the same time, I get why fans are still skeptical because we saw in the first season, the Pelicans sat him out and they didn't want to risk him having any further injuries when they went to the bubble. What happened a year later? He plays, I believe, 61 games, but gets hurt before the playoffs started, didn't play in the playing games or against the Phoenix Suns. Comes back a year later, the Pelicans are the number one seed. He gets hurt in January, doesn't play for the rest of the season, comes back the following year, and it took him a while to get healthy because in that game against the Lakers for the in-season tournament, he didn't look right. He looked out of shape, and Stephen A. Smith blasted him. I didn't like what he had to say about him having a belly and saying that he could eat a table. I just thought that was a bit much, in my opinion. When it came to Charles Barkley's criticism, they were pretty harsh too, but some of it was warranted. What has Zion done since then? Well, he's lost 25 pounds, according to Brian Windhorst, and he looked better as the season progressed. He looked quicker out there. He was making faster decisions. If you watch Zion, he was getting the post at will, using his frame and athleticism to get to the basket a lot easier. He averaged, I believe, it's 23 points a night on 5.8 rebounds, 5 assists, on 61% true shooting percentage. And then his first playoff game experience against the Lakers, the play-in game. The Lakers destroyed the Pelicans all season long. But this game, Zion really stepped up. In his first playoff appearance, 40 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists. He got hurt when the game was 95-95, when he tied it up with about, I think, under 3 minutes left. And then he was out for the rest of the game, didn't come back for the rest of the playoffs. So I get the skepticism here where people are doubting this photo and they're going, okay, prove it in the regular season. Totally understand that. But a healthy Zion Williamson is a scary thing to watch. Now, from my perspective, I know he's had some injury concerns, but he has shown that he can play a long season. The question is, can he finish the job? Because he's played 61 games in a shorter season. He played 70 games last year. So he has shown that he can stay healthy. The issue is when you get to the playoffs, he gets hurt. When it comes to Zion Williamson, the key to his growth this year is making sure he's healthy for the playoffs and making sure that he is showcasing his skills. Because when you get 40 points in a playing game against Anthony Davis and LeBron James, they had no answer for him. If he had stayed healthy in that game, the Pelicans might have pulled that comeback off because Zion was a force to be reckoned with. The Lakers had no answer for him whatsoever. I think they would have beat the Lakers that night. But at the same time, Zion has to stay healthy. That I agree with. I think a healthy Zion will be an all-star again this year. I think he can make an all-NBA team if he's healthy. That's how good he is. I know his numbers were not the same last year, but if you look at the minutes, he was playing about 33, 34 minutes previous season. So they had him on a minute restriction this year. And I think it was a good idea for the Pelicans for him to ramp up. You saw him get better, especially, I believe, after January. His numbers got a lot better. Also, another thing about the Pelicans, they were one of two teams that were top 5 in offensive rating, defensive rating, and net rating. The only team that was top 5 was the Boston Celtics. So they have something to build off. My only concerns is their front court depth because they don't have Valanciunas anymore. And if you're the Pelicans, do you trade Ingram at some point? Because he might be the odd man out because you have Murray and McCollum with Zion. It's a talented team, but the fit might not be great, in my opinion. I think if Zion Williamson can at least play in the playoffs this year, let's just say they finish in the 6th seed, they play the Timberwolves, they go to 6 or 7 games, and they get knocked out, well, you can build off that. Because now Zion has shown you he can be fully healthy. He got that experience in, and he knows now what to do with his body. He knows the exercises he needs to do, the food he doesn't need to be eating, and how to control his diet and make sure he's not gaining too much weight. We forget in the 2021-2022 season, Zion Williamson was unguardable. When he was on the basketball court, you were not stopping that man. So if he can get back to that level of play and really take care of himself and make sure that I got to do what I got to do so I can stay on the court. Also, there's incentives here because if he doesn't control his diet or his health, he's going to lose some of his money in his contract. So he has to do these things. If Zion can show us that, hey, the Pelicans might not be there yet, but I'm going to carry this team. I'm going to get us as far as we can. And he just is the best player on the basketball court as much as possible against the better teams. That's going to help them in the future. This is a big year for Zion Williamson. It's a prove it year, in my opinion, because if he gets hurt again or he's not in the best shape, then there will be more question marks coming out. And it's just fair. I know that's hard to receive, but we have to be objective here. I love Zion Williamson. I think he has top 10 potential, but he's got to stay healthy and he's got to stay in shape all year long. Those are just fair things to say. However, when he is healthy, when he's got his body under control and his weight under control, you can't stop Zion Williamson. And it looked like he was figuring things out as the season went along. They put him in this position where he's more of a playmaker. And there were also times where they would set him up with matchups where he could just drive downhill and get to his spots. And he was really good at that as the season progressed. He got better there because he worked on his weight and he was just unstoppable out there. I think for the Pelicans, the biggest thing they got to look at is this roster right now. How can we build around Zion Williamson? I think you have to look at trade packages for Brandon Ingram and bring in a big guy who's versatile and that can play next to Zion. And I think for Zion, he needs to work on his rebounding. I think he needs to get to 10 to 12 rebounds a game. As big as he is and as strong as he is, he should be able to get more rebounds out there. I know he's 6'6", but he's got all that athleticism. So that's one thing I want to see Zion improve upon this season. Also, what do we do with the backcourt? Because I know DeJounte Murray, he's good. CJ McCollum, he's good, but you might need a point guard at some point. So the Pelicans might have to go through a mini rebuild because this roster might not fit well for Zion. I don't know yet. We have to see it play out. We got to see a large sample size before that decision is made. But if the Pelicans are in a position where, let's say they're around 500 and they're at the trade deadline, I would consider moving off of McCollum and Ingram because you got to shore up some pieces in your backcourt. Maybe you need a solid point guard who can run that offense better. And then you need another big guy out there for more front court depth and rim protection. If you're a Pelicans fan, you're trying to figure out what is a successful season for the Pelicans. There are a couple of things here. Number one, Zion Williamson is healthy for the playoffs. He's one of the best players on the basketball court. He's very consistent. He's dominating. That's a huge W. Another thing is they carve out this roster and find the right pieces around Zion. And on top of that, they're competing in the Western Conference. Maybe they're not a contender yet, but they're on the rise. Those are things you're looking out for the Pelicans. So yeah, I'm rooting for Zion. I want him to do well, and I love his upside. I think he has the potential to be a top 10 player. I just think he's just got to stay healthy. He's got to get back to his all-star form, and if he can do that, the narrative is going to change even more. It was good to see Zion look better as the season progressed and for him to lose all that weight because it shows you that he does care and he's working on it. So want to give him at least a little bit of a pass right now to see where he ends up. Now, if things backfire, then I can't defend him. But at this point, I just want to see how this all plays out for Zion. Hopefully, he gets back to all-star form and an all-NBA player. That would be really awesome to watch. Hope you guys enjoyed this video today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Zion's recent weight transformation. Do you think it's going to pan out really well for him? What do you expect out of the Pelicans this season? Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.